The San Bernardino killers turned their home into an arsenal.
They were equipped and they could have continued to do another attack.
Police discover 13 bombs. As investigators look for ties to terrorism, we see the faces of the victims and hear the stories of survivors.
I saw my colleagues running around, screaming, crying.
And what do we tell our children?
You just want to be the mother hen and put them in your laps and hold them forever and hope that they're safe.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
It's hard to imagine the massacre in San Bernardino could have been worse, but today the police revealed that the husband and wife murder team brought this bomb to that social services building. It was rigged to a remote control toy car to act as a wireless trigger. Police say they also found this bag of pipe bombs in the suspect's home and a stockpile of ammunition. Saeed Farouk and his wife opened fire on Farouk's co-workers, County Department of Health employees, at a holiday office party. We received their names today. 14 were killed. One of them, Daniel Kaufman, ran a coffee shop in the building. Nicholas Thalasinos was remembered for his compassion. And Michael Wetzel leaves behind 6 children. 19 were wounded, plus 2 law enforcement officers who were hurt in the shootout with the suspects. We have extensive coverage from a team of correspondents, and first we'll go to Carter Evans in San Bernardino. Carter?
Scott, the FBI has flown in a special team from Washington to reenact and reconstruct the crime scene. They're also going to be analyzing digital evidence to try and get a better understanding of why this married couple opened fire on a crowd of innocent people.
Oh my gosh.
The rampage ended on a residential street in a hail of gunfire. When it was over, the 2 suspects were dead. But police say the couple left behind an arsenal of weapons, 6,700 bullets inside their home, along with 12 pipe bombs and enough materials and tools to build several more, according to San Bernardino Police Chief Jared Burguin.
Chief, do you believe they were planning another attack?
We don't know. Clearly they were equipped and they could have continued to do another attack. We intercepted them before that happened.
But police say Saeed Farouk and his wife Tashfeen Malik parked a rented black Ford Expedition at 11 a.m. in the parking lot behind the south building of the Inland Regional Center. They walked through unlocked doors directly into the room where the holiday party was underway. Investigators say the 2 were wearing masks and black tactical clothing, armed with semi-automatic rifles.
When they entered, fired somewhere between 65 and 75 rounds from their rifles at the scene.
Did they appear to be targeting anyone in particular?
They sprayed the room with bullets, so I don't know that there was any one person that they ultimately targeted.
But sources tell CBS News health department managers were the first ones shot. The couple left behind 3 pipe bombs tied together and connected to a remote control car. Police believe it malfunctioned. There was no explosion. Witnesses who worked with Farouk told police he attended the party but left early.
Where that came from was another person that was in the building that knew him, that identified him by name, who expressed some concern over his behavior prior to the event.
Police put his home under surveillance and gave chase when they spotted the black SUV. Cell phone video captured the gunfire that erupted. The couple fired at least 75 rounds at police. A total of 23 officers returned fire with 380 rounds, killing Farouk and his wife. Inside the SUV, officers found 2 AR-15 semi-automatic rifles and 2 9mm pistols, along with 1,600 rounds.
Now, initially, police thought a third suspect might still be on the loose, but Scott, today they are confident there is no remaining threat at this time.
Carter Evans, thanks. So what was the motive? Our chief legal correspondent, Jan Crawford, is following that part of the investigation. Jan?
Well, Scott, the FBI won't call this a terrorist attack yet, but it is leading the investigation because the case has some hallmarks of terrorism. But officials stress they still don't know the motive. Officials tell CBS News Syed Farook was not on any U.S. watch list, but two law enforcement sources say they have found evidence Farook had contact with a person in the U.S. and people overseas with suspected ties to terrorism. Investigators are focusing on the extent of those contacts and whether Farook may have been influenced or possibly radicalized. Law enforcement sources tell CBS News what they do know so far. Farook, a U.S. citizen born in Chicago to Pakistani immigrants, graduated from California State San Bernardino in 2010. He went to work for the local health department and then turned to online dating sites in search of a wife. He found Tafshin Malik. They met and became engaged in 2013 when Farook made a trip to Saudi Arabia during the annual Muslim pilgrimage known as the Hajj. Farook returned to Saudi Arabia in July 2014 to bring her to the U.S., and earlier this year the couple had a baby. But court documents reveal other parts of Farook's family life were turbulent. In November 2014, Farook's father threatened suicide in front of Farook and his brother. Last February, Farook's mother took out a restraining order against his father, saying he was bipolar and abusive. All this is now being looked at by the FBI, which seized computers, thumb drives, and other electronic devices and shipped them to Washington for analysis. Now, Farook's wife did pass counterterrorism screening as part of her visa application process. But, Scott, until law enforcement determines the true motive in this attack, whether it's terrorism or workplace violence, it is not clear if warning signs were actually missed.
Jan, thank you. Farook's wife came into the United States on a visa specifically for fiancés. Nora O'Donnell, co-host of CBS This Morning, spoke to the lead investigators in San Bernardino. Nora?
Scott, she was the most unlikely accomplice, a 27-year-old mother with an infant at home, and now involved in one of the deadliest mass shootings. Authorities say Tashfeen Malik was clad entirely in black tactical gear, her face obscured by a ski mask. Along with her husband, Syed Farook, they fired 65 to 75 rounds in the Inland Regional Center before fleeing in a black SUV.
If you get that and then north pretty.
Once the car was surrounded, Police Chief Jared Burgwan says she fired out of the back, taking aim at law enforcement.
What do you know about her level one? Was she shooting as much as he was?
She was engaged in the gun battle with our police officers, and there were two shooters at the scene. So, yes, she fired rounds.
She fired rounds.
How many she fired versus him, I don't know, but she fired at our officers. I know that for sure.
We can see one guy down. There's one guy in the back of a car that was in that Bearcat.
I can't get my head around the fact that a 27-year-old mother of a 6-month-old is firing off as many rounds like she is.
I think the entire event doesn't make a whole lot of sense, to be honest with you, and kind of hard to wrap your head around why anybody would do anything like this, regardless of who they are.
Authorities know very little about Tashfeen Malik. She was not an American citizen, but was here on a K-1 visa, according to FBI Special Agent David Bowditch.
She's here on a Pakistani passport.
She's here on a Pakistani passport.
Correct.
Isn't it highly unusual to have a woman, a mother of a 6-month-old, engaged in a shootout?
I would think it's unusual.
And Scott, police say she had no criminal record and was not on any terrorist watch list.
Nora O'Donnell, thanks. Now, with some insight into all of this, we turn to Michael Morrell, former number 2 at the CIA and our senior security contributor. Michael, we now know that Farook went to Saudi Arabia twice, went to Pakistan once, was in communications with people that the FBI was watching for being Islamic extremists. Right. What does that add up to?
So what it adds up to me was that this is a guy who was probably radicalized by either ISIS or Al-Qaeda. And a guy, given them the amount of weapons and explosives he had, that he was planning something significant.
Something bigger than what we actually saw?
Perhaps, right? Perhaps. He obviously didn't take all of what he had. So either there was going to be a series of events, right, or he was planning something bigger, and this took its place because of the office anger that he had.
A dozen pipe bombs left behind in his home.
Exactly.
Does it matter anymore whether these things are inspired by extremists or directed by extremists?
So, Scott, I think it matters a lot. When it's just inspired, you're usually talking about 1 or 2 people, and the number of casualties is limited, right? It's a relatively small number. When it's directed, you have the potential for much more. When it's directed, you have the potential for multiple operatives, simultaneous attacks that kill a much, much larger number of people, like Paris.
Just like Paris. Michael Morrell, former number 2 at the CIA. Michael, thanks as always. Was Farouk radicalized? Well, our David Begnaud spoke with a co-worker who narrowly missed the shooting.
San Bernardino County Health Inspector Christian Nwadiki says he and 4 other men were in the restroom when the first shots were fired.
So when the blast came in, it was I lost every feelings. I kept on thinking, well, this may be life or death.
You thought you might die?
Yes, strongly.
How long did you lie on the floor?
I will put my time to 10 minutes.
What could you hear as you were lying on the floor?
There were cries, there were shots.
Nwadiki, who's originally from Nigeria, sat in a cubicle next to Syed Farouk for 5 years.
When he came back from Saudi Arabia, he started growing beards. That was the change.
Do you believe that he was radicalized?
Yes.
Was he ever violent?
No.
Was he ever rude?
Never.
Was he ever talkative?
He rarely talks.
Do you feel like you missed something about his personality?
I couldn't believe it. That's what I'm missing. There is no way I can look at him and see him attached to this until it happened, and it was him.
Mr. Nwadiki says his co-worker turned mass shooter who lived just down the street behind me in an apartment was actually excited about the birth of his baby girl. Scott, some of the co-workers who had to dodge the shooter's bullets actually helped to raise money for the shooter and his wife just 6 months ago to congratulate them on the birth of their baby girl.
David Begnaud reporting. David, thank you. Muslims were quick to denounce the massacre. We spoke today with Hussam Elouche, the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations in Los Angeles.
As soon as we heard that the suspect might be of Muslim background, we started witnessing a lot of the anti-Muslim sentiment and rhetoric in social media, in emails, threats. We felt it was important for our fellow Americans to know where we stand, that we stand together in condemning unequivocally such behavior.
10 victims remain in 2 hospitals. 2 of them are in critical condition. John Blackstone spoke with some of the families.
Jennifer Stevens is just 22, a former college volleyball player who graduated this summer and took a job with the San Bernardino County Health Department.
The whole thing is just devastating, you know.
Lisa Stevens is Jennifer's mother, who got the kind of phone call every parent dreads.
She said, "Mommy, I've been shot." They took the phone from her, and that was all I knew until about 4 hours later. She texted me, "I'm okay."
Jennifer was shot in the side. When her mother came to visit,
she said, I know I saw people die.
That's going to be hard for her to deal with for a long time.
It was surreal. It is horrible. It's crazy.
Also among the wounded, Julie Swan Paez, a health inspector with San Bernardino County. She was shot at least twice after arriving at that holiday party to be honored as Employee of the Year. Nicholas Thalasinos is one of the 14 who did not survive. Tonight, he leaves behind a widow, Jennifer, an elementary school teacher.
He was so kind to everybody, so he was very chivalrous.
How is life going to change for you now?
Just my whole life has been basically turned upside down. He's just had an enormous heart.
Now, Nicholas Thalasinos occasionally posted views on social media that were critical of Islam, but tonight, Scott, his wife tells us she has no idea that Syed Farouk ever saw those postings.
John Blackstone reporting for us tonight. John, thank you. Coming next, Nora O'Donnell with a survivor.
By the 12th body, I stopped counting.
And later, Elaine Quijano on what to say to our children when the CBS Evening News continues. Back now with Nora O'Donnell, co-host of CBS This Morning, who has a compelling interview with one of those who survived. Nora?
Scott, Timmy Hilliard is a social worker at the Inland Regional Center, and he was in his office on the 3rd floor when the shooting started. As police moved in, Hilliard took out his phone and started recording.
I got a text from a colleague stating there was an active shooter. I got up out of my desk, opened my door, went in the hallway, and I saw my colleagues running around, screaming, crying.
You had a bird's eye view of the entrance and the exit that the shooters went in.
Correct.
What did you see first?
At first, what I saw was the SWAT team coming into the back door, about 5 or 6, looking for active shooter. In the back, there was a gentleman deceased on the bench, I assumed, as well a female about 10 to 15 feet away, laying in a pool of blood, deceased as well.
You think they were trying to flee and then were shot when they were trying to flee?
Correct. The female, I assume, due to her positioning and the way she was facing with her back to the building, she was fleeing.
I think one of the most disturbing things about your video to see them bringing some of the bodies out. How were they doing that?
They were grabbing as much as they could, arms, feet. They had them in chairs, just trying to get them out of harm's way and seeing if they're critical and or deceased, and just trying to clear out as much as they could.
When did you realize how grave this situation was?
It was probably about the 6th body coming out, just seeing the effect of it all. At first I saw the 2 bodies and I'm like, okay, it's 2 bodies, not saying it's not bad, but it's 2 bodies, it may not be that bad. And by the 12th body, I stopped counting.
You saw 12 bodies?
At least.
When you hear that this is now the worst mass shooting since Sandy Hook, what do you think?
It's intense. You don't realize what it is until you get out of the situation.
What lessons will you take from this?
So many. Don't take anything for granted. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Sorry. So I thought about her.
You thought about your daughter?
Yeah.
Hilliard and other survivors were taken to a church after they were removed from the building, where they were able to reunite with colleagues and loved ones. And Scott, Hilliard says he can't wait to spend more time with his daughter.
Nora O'Donnell, thanks. There's other important news tonight, including a historic change for the U.S. military. Next. In Minneapolis this morning, police and firefighters tore down a protest encampment outside a police station. The protesters had been there almost 3 weeks. Later in the day, they demonstrated at City Hall over the fatal shooting of a black man by a white police officer. At issue is whether the suspect was handcuffed when he was shot. The U.S. military is looking for a few good women. Today, Defense Secretary Ash Carter ordered the armed forces to open all combat jobs to women. He said any woman who meets the standard should be allowed to serve on the front lines and in special forces. All branches have until January 1st to submit plans for the historic change. A South African appeals court today found Oscar Pistorius guilty of murder, throwing out his conviction on the lesser charge of manslaughter. Pistorius, an Olympic athlete known as the Blade Runner, shot and killed his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp. He served just a year on his original conviction. He could face 15 when he's resentenced next year. In a moment, explaining violence to children when we struggle to understand it ourselves. We end tonight with a question that parents are asking. What do we tell our children about the steady stream of violence that we feel powerless to stop? Innocent boys and girls who trust us to keep them safe. Here's Elaine Quijano.
What number is that?
Like many parents, Sharon Marcus is worried about how to talk to her 6- and 7-year-old daughters about yet another mass shooting.
I'm put in this position of having to always know the right thing to say, and it's so much pressure, but I just try to do my best.
In the last month alone, dozens have been killed in places most consider safe, at a concert, a cafe, an office holiday party. We watched a father in Paris try to calm his young son's fears about bad guys with guns by telling him about the goodness of flowers.
Les fleurs, ça fait rien, c'est pour. Si regarde, tu vois, tout le monde pose des fleurs. C'est pour combattre les pistolets.
But many parents are struggling to explain this emerging new reality to their children. Child psychiatrist Harold Koplowitz.
I think it's perfectly normal to want to shield our kids from grief and from pain. And so while it's counterintuitive, I think it's very important that parents take the lead in breaking the news when something bad happens to their kids.
Koplowitz advises parents to reassure their children that they are safe and loved, explain that violent events are rare, and calmly review safety plans. When bad things happen, Sharon Marcus and her husband David choose to emphasize the good.
I can't stop living and I can't stop enjoying my life, and I have to give my children a childhood where they can go to the park and not be worried about anything. You know, we stay smart, but we have to go on and live.
Something that seems to work with kids. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, New York.
And that's the CBS Evening News. We're going to leave you this December night in Washington, where a tree celebrates the season of peace and a flag honors the latest victims of violence. Good night.